For years, the story of Joseph and his brothers has been one of betrayal, heartache, and unimaginable loss. But within the shadows of their struggles lies a powerful truth, a story of forgiveness, redemption, and healing that began with one simple yet extraordinary person. Benjamin, the youngest son, the forgotten link. He may have remained in the background, but in the unfolding of this epic story, Benjamin holds the key to a reconciliation that would heal a broken family and restore a future. In him lies the possibility of forgiveness, both for his brothers and Joseph himself. In today's final episode, we journey through the heart of forgiveness and restoration as we uncover how the love of one brother, Benjamin, became the bridge to healing and reconciliation, not just for his family, but for the future of Israel. Benjamin, Jacob's 12th and youngest son, entered the world in a moment of great joy and profound sorrow. His birth should have been a triumphant occasion, a long-awaited blessing for his mother, Rachel, Jacob's most cherished wife. She had already given birth to Joseph, and now, with Benjamin, her heart's deepest longing seemed fulfilled. But joy quickly turned to tragedy. Rachel's labor was agonizing, a struggle so fierce that it cost her life. With her final breath, she whispered a name for her son, Ben-Oni, meaning son of my sorrow. It was a name born of pain, a reflection of the anguish she endured in her last moments. Yet Jacob, though crushed by grief, could not bear for his son to carry such a burden. In an act of love and hope, he gave him a new name, Benjamin, meaning son of my right hand. This name was not just a tribute to his beloved Rachel, but a declaration of favor and strength. Though his mother's loss cast a shadow over his birth, Benjamin would hold a place of great importance in his father's heart, forever bound to both sorrow and blessing. Growing up as the youngest in a family shaped by jealousy, betrayal, and heartache, Benjamin entered a world already burdened with deep scars. He never knew his mother, Rachel, whose passing left an emptiness no one could fill. Instead, he was raised in the shadow of grief, a child caught between his father's sorrow and the complex tensions among his older brothers. To Jacob, Benjamin was more than just his youngest son. He was a living memory of Rachel, the wife he had loved beyond all others. And when Joseph, Rachel's firstborn, was presumed dead, Jacob's devastation was immeasurable. Benjamin became his most treasured child, the last connection to the woman he had adored. Jacob's love for Benjamin was more than fatherly affection. It was a fierce, protective devotion. He refused to let the boy stray too far, shielding him from harm at all costs. Unlike Joseph, whose favored status had stirred envy among his brothers, Benjamin's special place in Jacob's heart did not ignite resentment. By the time he was born, the family's rivalries had already reached their boiling point, leaving Benjamin free from the bitterness that had plagued his older siblings. With Joseph gone and Jacob consumed by inconsolable grief, the weight of past mistakes became painfully clear to his sons. They had seen firsthand the destruction that jealousy and favoritism had wrought, and this time they chose a different path. Unlike Joseph, whose favored status had fueled resentment, Benjamin was spared their envy. Perhaps it was his youth, his innocence, or the simple fact that he had played no part in their past treachery. Whatever the reason, his brothers did not see him as a rival, but as a symbol of something purer, a chance to mend what had been broken. In a family torn apart by betrayal, Benjamin became a quiet force of unity. His presence was a reminder that blood should be protected, not betrayed. Through him, the brothers found an opportunity, not for more division, but for healing and redemption. Years passed, And then came the famine, merciless and unrelenting. Hunger gripped the land, forcing Jacob's family to seek food in Egypt. What they didn't know was that their journey would lead them straight into the hands of a man they had long thought dead. Their brother, Joseph, now a powerful Egyptian governor. When the brothers arrived in Egypt, Joseph recognized them instantly, but he kept his identity hidden. Instead, he accused them of being spies and issued a chilling demand. "If you are telling the truth, prove it. Bring your youngest brother to me." The brothers' hearts pounded in fear. They knew the truth. Returning to Canaan without food meant starvation, but returning without Benjamin, that was unthinkable. Their father would never allow it. To Jacob, Benjamin was more than just his youngest son. He was Rachel's last gift, the only remaining piece of the woman he had loved beyond all else. When they brought Joseph's demand back to their father, Jacob's anguish overflowed. "You have deprived me of my children. Joseph is no more, Simeon is no more, and now you want to take Benjamin. Everything is against me." His voice was heavy with sorrow, his heart torn apart by the thought of losing yet another son. To him, Benjamin was irreplaceable, the very embodiment of Rachel's memory and love. And the mere suggestion of letting him go was more than he could bear. As the famine tightened its grip and the threat of starvation became impossible to ignore, Jacob was left with no choice. Though every fiber of his being resisted, he finally, reluctantly, agreed to send Benjamin to Egypt. But he did not make this decision lightly. It was Judah's solemn vow, his unwavering promise to bear full responsibility for Benjamin's safety, that finally broke through Jacob's fear. With a heavy heart, the aged patriarch placed his beloved son's fate into his brother's hands. When they arrived in Egypt, everything changed. Benjamin's presence shifted the course of history, setting into motion a dramatic and unexpected reunion, one that would test old wounds, reveal long-buried truths, and ultimately lead to a moment of redemption unlike any other. Still concealing his identity, Joseph's heart swelled with emotion at the sight of his youngest brother. Here stood Benjamin, the only other son of his beloved mother, Rachel, the baby Joseph had last seen as a child before being torn from his family. Now Benjamin was a young man, innocent, unaware of the pain and betrayal that had shaped their family's past. Overcome with emotion, Joseph ordered a great feast to be prepared for his brothers. But this was no ordinary meal. It was a test. In an act that left his brothers stunned, Joseph seated them in perfect order from eldest to youngest. Then, in a gesture that surely raised eyebrows, he served Benjamin 5 times the portion given to the others. This was no accident. Joseph was watching. Would his brothers react with the same jealousy they once harbored against him? Would they resent Benjamin as they had resented Joseph? Or had time and hardship changed them? But this was only the beginning. The greatest test was yet to come. With their sacks filled with grain, the brothers set off for home, relieved that their journey had been successful. But they had no idea that Joseph had set a final, fateful test in motion. Unbeknownst to them, Joseph's silver cup had been secretly placed in Benjamin's bag. And just as they were beginning to believe they were in the clear, Joseph's steward came racing after them, accusing them of theft. Shocked and indignant, the brothers proclaimed their innocence. So confident were they that they made a bold offer: "If any of us has the cup, let him become your slave." But when the steward searched their bags, the unthinkable happened. The cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Horror washed over them. Their youngest brother, the one they had sworn to protect, was now a condemned man. In utter grief and despair, they tore their clothes, a sign of deep mourning, and returned to Joseph's palace to plead for mercy. Then, in a moment that would change everything, Judah stepped forward. The very brother who had once played a part in selling Joseph now stood as Benjamin's protector. "Please, my lord," he begged, "let me remain as your slave instead of the boy. Let him return home with his brothers." It was a stunning act of self-sacrifice, proving beyond doubt that Judah had changed. No longer driven by jealousy or selfishness, he was willing to give up his own freedom to save Benjamin. It was the moment Joseph had been waiting for, the final test to see whether his brothers had truly learned the meaning of loyalty, love, and redemption. At last, Joseph could hold back no longer. Seeing his brothers' genuine remorse and their love for Benjamin, the floodgates of his heart burst open. He sent everyone else out of the room, and then, with loud, uncontrollable weeping, he revealed the truth that had been hidden for so long. "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" The brothers stood frozen in terror. The man before them, the powerful ruler of Egypt, was the very brother they had betrayed and sold into slavery. What would he do to them now? But Joseph had no desire for revenge. Instead, he reassured them, his voice filled with grace, not anger. He embraced Benjamin, weeping on his brother's neck. After years of separation, of pain, of wounds left unspoken, the two sons of Rachel were finally together again. That moment was more than just a family reunion. It was a moment of healing. Benjamin, the quiet and constant presence in Jacob's house, had unknowingly become the bridge between Joseph and his brothers. Through him, old wounds were mended and the family was restored. Though Benjamin's role in the story was passive, his presence was powerful. He did not forge his path in a foreign land as Joseph had. Instead, he remained the symbol of love and hope, the last piece of Rachel that Jacob clung to. Unlike his older brothers, he had never been consumed by jealousy and never participated in their betrayals. His innocence and vulnerability were a mirror reflecting both the family's past failures and the redemption that was now possible. In the end, Benjamin was more than just the youngest son. He was the catalyst for reconciliation, the proof that love could overcome hatred, and the living symbol of a new beginning. His life was spared, not just by his brother's commitment, but by Joseph's grace. And through him, the fractured house of Jacob was made whole once more. The blessing of Benjamin. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf in the morning. He devours the prey in the evening. He divides the plunder. This blessing, spoken over Benjamin, painted a vivid picture of a tribe marked by both strength and fierceness. The descendants of Benjamin would be known for their warrior spirit, capable of both aggression and conquest. Yet, alongside this power, they would also struggle with internal conflicts, battles that would threaten to tear the tribe apart. Through blessings and trials, betrayal and redemption, God used the unique strengths and weaknesses of each of Jacob's sons to lay the foundation for a nation that would carry his promise. These men, though flawed, were chosen for a purpose. Each son, in his way, contributed to a story greater than his own, a story of grace, forgiveness, and the rebuilding of God's people. The lives of these brothers remind us that no path is too crooked, no heart too hardened, and no mistake too great for God to transform into something beautiful and purposeful. His ability to redeem the broken and the flawed is at the heart of the Bible's message. As we reflect on the legacy of these men, their triumphs, their failures, their growth, let us ask ourselves, Are we using our strengths and gifts for a higher purpose? Are we allowing our past failures to define us? Or are we, like Joseph, choosing redemption and growth over bitterness and regret? Whether we resonate with the turbulent passion of Reuben, the fierce zeal of Levi, or the enduring faith of Joseph, the message is clear. God can take the broken pieces of our lives and weave them into his greater story. If you've been moved by this journey through the lives of Jacob's sons, don't let it end here. Take a moment to like this video. Share it with others who hunger for deeper understanding, and, most importantly, subscribe to our channel. Your engagement helps us continue exploring these timeless truths and creates a community dedicated to studying and living out the Word of God. Join us in uncovering more biblical wisdom that can shape our lives today. Together, let's delve deeper, learn more, and apply these lessons to our journeys of faith. Click subscribe and become part of a family that seeks to grow in wisdom and truth, just as the 12 sons grew into a nation that changed the world. Shalom.